The DJI Osmo Action was released back in 2019. Now, at the time, it cost around $350. Nowadays, you can find this used for about $200, and even less than that if you really shop around. So, just what do you get with this nearly 3-year-old camera? Well, there's a 12-megapixel 1/2.3-inch sensor, an f2.8 3-glass spherical lens with a 145-degree field of view, and there's even a front-facing screen. Now, in terms of video, you've got 4K at 24, 30, and 60 frames per second, which is on par with other GoPros that came out in the same era as this. And of course, you have all those same options at 2.7K as well. Now, when it comes to slow motion, you've got 1080p at 100, 120, and 240 frames per second, except there's literally no image stabilization in any of those frame rates. I mean, to kind of put that into perspective, it works great if you're filming someone else skateboarding and you've got the camera on a tripod and they're doing the action. It's fine in that sense, but if you're trying to film yourself on the skateboard, it's going to look terrible. Now, here are a few little quirks about the Osmo Action that make me actually like it over GoPro. One is switching frame rates. It is so quick and so easy to just hop back and forth between different frame rates. Like when I'm filming a video like this, all of the B-roll is 4K 60, and then all of these talking segments are 4K 24. With Osmo Action, it's so easy to just flip back and forth between those frame rates, and even GoPro Hero 9 and 10 having those presets, those are great, but something about doing it the way that the Osmo Action does is a lot more appealing. You know, another thing that I like about Osmo Action better than GoPro is it has a lock screen like a phone. Like for these type of walking talk segments where when I'm done saying what I'm done saying, I don't want to turn the camera all the way off and then have to power it on next time I start talking. But on the other hand, I don't want to just leave the camera on the whole time. The Osmo Action, you just click that little top power button and it locks the screen just like a cell phone would. GoPro, your option is to either turn the camera all the way off or just leave it on, and the problem with that is if you stick it in your pocket, it gets jostled around, or if you're holding it in your hands, same thing. You start changing settings accidentally and unintentionally, and I don't like that. That makes me crazy. So in that sense, the Osmo Action definitely gets bonus points. Okay, I'm filming this bit on this busy street out here to kind of illustrate a point. One thing that I find frustrating about the Osmo Action is in order to use an external microphone, you have to use DJI's proprietary mic adapter that's only made for the Osmo Action. You know, you would think, oh, well, I'll just grab some sort of USB-C mic adapter and it'll work. No, it will not. DJI just refuses to support third-party adapters. And worse than that, because I've got a DJI Osmo Pocket, that mic adapter for the Osmo Pocket, even that won't work on the Osmo Action. DJI forces you to only use their specific mic adapter that they made for the Osmo Action, and that's kind of a bummer. But having said that, audio straight out of the DJI Osmo Action is actually pretty good, in good conditions. You know, you run into trouble if you're on a busy street like this or a really windy beach, then that audio is probably going to be unusable, but in good conditions, it's actually pretty good. Now, when it comes to the lens itself, this is more of a matter of personal preference, but the Osmo Action is noticeably more narrow than, say, a GoPro. You know, once you add image stabilization and de-warp, this is as wide as it gets. Whereas with a GoPro, you've got Super View plus Hyper Smooth and all that, and it's still incredibly... Oh, fuck off. Whereas with a GoPro, you've got Super View, Hyper Smooth Stabilization, all that, and it's still incredibly wide. So that's really just more personal taste. Now, in terms of image stabilization, Osmo Action has genuinely good stabilization. DJI's rock steady stabilization is right on par with GoPro's hyper smooth. I mean, that's not really an issue. Like, you can do walk and talk segments like this, or if you pick it up and you start running, you know, it handles it well. It's super smooth. Now, one thing that's kind of a bummer about Osmo Action is the auto exposure. And it even has a face priority mode that's supposed to prioritize like a person's face over like the highlights. It doesn't work. I have it on right now. Let me illustrate a point. Like here, if I keep the camera tilted up now, it's like exposed. You can actually see me. But if I let it creep down and just get any of those highlights into the shot, look how dark I get all of a sudden. You can actually see me here. Can't see me at all here. And that's with face priority on. So, is the Osmo Action worth it in 2021? And the answer is a definite yes. I mean, you're getting so much bang for your buck. Sure, you're missing out on a few features that the current GoPro or the Action 2 has, like 4K 120 and a few other slow motion features, but those cameras cost more than double the price of this. You know, you're getting so much camera for $200. You've got 4K up to 60 frames per second. You've got 1080p up to 240 frames per second. You've got a front-facing screen. You've got pretty decent audio straight out of camera. You have a flat picture profile in D-Cinelike, and you've got a menu system that's just really intuitive and really easy to use. So in that sense, yeah, I mean, Osmo Action actually is a really great bargain at or around $200. I mean, it's not perfect, but it is really solid. It's a genuinely good all-around action camera at a really good price. Anyway, I think that's all I've got for today, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again next time.